You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win!
Hosing! Score!
To Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Verhaeghe does it again! 52.1 seconds to go. Do you love it, Niagara?
Welcome into another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods. Our pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of their great Niagara region locations. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are with you to discuss the IceDogs' last month of games here, as we do always on the Armchair GM Sports Network. If you're watching us on the video version of the podcast, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell if you enjoy watching our glorious faces on the video forum. And if you're listening to us today on demand on your favorite listening platform, thank you very much for doing that as well. Make sure to give us a follow at Dog Pound Podcast for all of our IceDogs content. And as well, we're available on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're reposting a lot more shorter content, shorter reels for you guys, and here on our YouTube channel. So with that said, we're going to go over the IceDogs' last little bit of results here. Obviously, hasn't been the month that they've wanted with results. But we're going to have Captain Gavin Bryant on for another Gav's Leadership Lounge segment. And as well, we're going to have IceDogs General Manager Wes Consorti on, kind of a small look ahead to the draft and just looking over kind of the team's performance and his thoughts as we are in the final month of the regular season, what he's looking for the team as we move into the offseason. So with that said, Cam, I know there's going to be one more game recap you're going to be on, and for those for those that don't know, we do a game recap after every home game at the rink, so that's usually available the morning after the games. So, Cam, general thoughts. I know they just went on the road for supposed to be 2 games. The game in Barrie was canceled due to something to do with the ice, unsafe conditions there, so they're going to have to go back up to Barrie to play a game. So the game against North Bay, obviously a loaded North Bay team, and the IceDogs have had a little bit of trouble there, but and even on Thursday against the Ottawa 67s, which our game recap is available on demand as well. You know, what are your thoughts on the team as of late? Playoffs pretty slim at this point, but the fact that they're still mathematically, and I'm going to use that term loosely, still haven't been eliminated yet, that's a plus for a team that was 30 points out last year.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this quite a bit. Like they've already surpassed last season's point total, which I believe was 33, which is crazy to think. And they still got about 9 games to go, I believe.
Yep.
We talked about this all year long. As long as they're still in games, near the end of the season, where it's not just kind of pack it in. That being said, it does look like the team has kind of run out of gas.
Limping to the finish line, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of. We're starting to see some bad habits where, the whole year their compete level has just been lights out. And regardless of the skill on the other team, they played every game super tight. And now we're into that stage where we're kind of shifting from the team this season and now towards more personal accolades in the future. And I think that while that North Bay lost 9-3 to a team that I think is going to be very tough to play against in the playoffs, is that Robrick scored and so did Zada. Gavin Bryant also gets one as well, but he's kind of been steady Eddie the whole year. But Robrick just continues to score and break rookie records for the IceDogs, and we've talked about that kind of ad nauseum. With 24, he's now the franchise leader. And say what you will, but the last 4 years of the Niagara IceDogs, but their alumni are like if you were to put like the all-time alumni for the Ice Dogs up against a lot of teams, like it's not that it's pretty impressive. And when you consider that Ryan has now scored the most out of any rookie, that's more than Akil, more than Phil Tomasino. I think even more than Freddie Hamilton back when because he had a really really good career at the Ice Dogs in terms of being a forward. You got Ryan Strome, Verhaeghe, like the fact that he was able to beat all those guys, in his early stage of his career. Not that he's going to be them. That I think those expectations are a little lofty, but I think that it still opens the case to be said that he might be. We're talking about an odds-on NHL drafted player in what we could assume probably the top 90 at least right now, going into his draft year. And I think that as the season goes along, that's at least something to watch for where we didn't have that last year.
It's definitely an encouraging start for Ryan Robrick's career as a 16-year-old in this league, and he's playing alongside Kevin He now and Gavin Bryant, and we'll ask Gavin about that a little later on in our leadership lounge. But yeah, you mentioned it there. Ryan Robrick is now the official leader for IceDogs rookies with goals, and I'm trying to pull up the graphic here, and I lost it here. But regardless, he 24 goals, so he was tied with Chris D'Souza and Marco Insam for rookie. There it is. For rookie goals, not just as a 16-year-old, but overall. He had broken the 16-year-old record, which was 21. That was co-held by Akil Thomas and Kevin He, and he's shattered that, and now he's went for the overall rookie record. So that's great to see for Ryan Robrick. We know the work that he's put in, and just the kind of special talent that he is for this Ice Dogs group, and drafting him second overall in last year's draft. To me, he's even exceeded expectations for his first year, because to ask a 16-year-old to score 24 goals on a team that doesn't score a lot and is in a rebuild, that's really tough and lofty expectations to expect a guy like Ryan Robrick to do it. But we talked about it all year. He's been able to produce, and like you mentioned, lead the rookies in shots. He continues to throw pucks on net and continues to get better. And we've seen him play a little bit of center, but I think that they're more comfortable with putting him at the wing for his first year as he continues to learn how to play the center position at the OHL level, continues to work on his faceoffs and things like that. But I think we'll see Ryan Robrick at center as early as next season on a full-time basis. But I've enjoyed seeing him on that left wing this year because he's so dynamic.
I think that one of the biggest things this offseason, whether it's an overage or a trade, or even someone that's currently on the team, they need to find, like, when you look at the roster makeup of the team, obviously the two on forward in Kevin and Ryan and Robrick, and as well as Gavin Bryant. I mean, let's not take anything away from Gavin because he's having a pretty good offensive season as well. But Kevin leads the OHL in shots, and Robrick leads rookies by a ton in shots. They need to find, I think in a perfect world, you can split them up and have someone who can feed them, like just get them into positions where they can shoot and use their shot. I think is going to be a massive thing that could, only assist. You still think that Robrick ends up at center?
I think that they're going to try to put him at center because I think that was his natural position, and he's got the size, like you quickly mentioned there. And obviously, it's nice to see him skating down that left wing, but I think where he's most valuable is as a center iceman in this league, and same with Ethan Zada. I think he's a guy that when they drafted him, Wes Consorti said every team needs an Ethan Zada, a guy that's a great 200-foot centerman that takes key defensive, offensive zone draws. And I think when they end up becoming a playoff team, Ethan Zada is going to be one of those key guys that you're going to need for a deep playoff run, in that middle six center ice position. So I look at both those guys that they took with their two top 5 picks. They're obviously not going to have 2 top 5 picks this year, but it's they're continuing to build that core with Kevin, and like you mentioned, whoever their next first-round pick is going to be huge as well for the organization. So like you mentioned, I think, going out and getting another playmaker. They have Gavin Bryant, who's a playmaker, to play with one of them, but if you want to split them up, definitely maybe if Alex Asadorian takes another step forward. But again, like you mentioned, both those guys are shooters, so they're both playing together, which is crazy, is they both shoot a lot. So
I know that's what's so surprising is that they play on the same line essentially now. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that Kevin is I think that the part of Robrick's game that's going to take a little bit, I've talked about this throughout the season, is that defensively he's a little passive, but as he's gone along this year, he's gotten a little more physical, especially in the last game. And I think that, when you're a 16-year-old in the OHL, 16 to 20 is a massive jump in age, just as like a human being. Like you're just going up against full on adults. So, I think that's the part of the game that takes a little bit longer to come together. And we saw it with Kevin this year. Kevin's been extremely physical. I mean, to be honest, I want to say that he's got to have, he's second on the team in penalty minutes behind Federico. So, and that doesn't surprise me. I low-key thought that he might be a little bit closer, but Federico, I think he might have a couple of game misconducts or something. He's almost at 100 PIMs. But yeah, so Kevin has definitely gotten more physical, and he's bigger than you think, too. So I'd love to see Ryan kind of get that edge next year. And, not all players are going to play like that, especially when you're as gifted offensively as Ryan is. But I think if that's what's going to determine if he's going to be a great centerman or not. I think that there's times in the defensive zone he's a little passive, looking to get up the ice a little bit early. But that can all come with age. So, what I'm really curious is, we talked like last year they made 1 million trades to try and make the team more competitive, and obviously it just did not work out. And they made a concerted effort to not just make trades to make trades this year. That didn't happen. While there was a bunch, I'd be willing to guess that more than half the team is still on the roster, and that's including the overagers that age out, going into next year. Do you feel like that, or do you think there will still be quite a bit of turnover?
I think there'll be some turnover, like in every team, and obviously Federico is graduating. So,
yeah.
But I do think that they like the main core of this group. It's such a young group that a lot of those guys, you don't have to make tough decisions with them yet. The guys that they've already moved out, they've kind of made tough decisions with all those 04s they were going to have. So I think they've kind of addressed that situation, and they're not going to have as many tough decisions with a lot of their players. But as Ben Boudreau said last week, there's going to be guys fighting for spots the next 9 days, whether that be with this team next year or showcasing themselves for whatever that next level of hockey might be for them. So this is kind of that time of year where the teams that aren't going to be involved in the playoff race are still jockeying for position as far as their personal aspirations. We know that Connor Federico really wants to score, and Ben Boudreau talked about that, for his next level of hockey. And it's just really tough right now because the IceDogs are going up against a bunch of teams that are really forming up and gearing up for the playoffs. So they're really, putting out their best efforts on most nights. And it's also a shame that the IceDogs have multiple teams within their division all going for it at the same time. So that also
the East is wide open.
That also makes it harder with North Bay and Sudbury and Mississauga. Like those are three formidable teams there within your division that are trying to jockey for playoff position. So it's even tougher for the IceDogs right now. But you'd think that hopefully when the cycle of junior hockey continues to go in the other way, you start to see in a year or two the IceDogs have those 9-3 victories against some of those teams.
I think that's the big thing. We've talked about this a ton too. Just getting NHL drafted prospects from the IceDogs is going to go a long way for future IceDog players to be excited to come there. I think that they still have one of the best venues in the league, and now it's more about getting the last 4 years kind of just away from the franchise. But I mean, you look at Windsor. Like Windsor is at their cycle. They went all in, and it
for 2
blew
years.
Up in their exactly. They kind of blew up on them in one of the most shocking. That's got to be one of the most shocking OHL first round exits. Not that Kitchener was bad, but the fact like that Windsor team was nuts, including Shane Wright, right? So, but they also have like potentially 2 first rounders on their team this year, right? And I think that's what still the IceDogs are missing, but we're going to get a glimpse of that next year when Robrick is probably a consensus top 2 round pick. I'm so curious. Hopefully we have Stephen Ellis on from the Daily Faceoff to talk about prospects and on our draft show. But I'd be so curious to see what like the prognosticators are on Ryan Robrick, because there was a lot of scouts in the game. We talked about that on our recap show for the game against Ottawa.
Yep.
Right now, obviously, Ottawa has a lot of top-end players, a lot of drafted players as well. But Ryan's going to start getting the spotlight a little bit when you almost put up 30 goals as a 16-year-old in the OHL, right? Like if he continues, when we went back and looked like at Keel's year, he kind of had a down year scoring, but like a point wise, he increased, right? And now I'll be curious to see what happens next year with Ryan, depending on who he gets to get to play with.
And then looking at the updated lineup from the most recent game against North Bay, it was interesting. Ben Boudreau started off with the usual, I guess, third line, if you want to call it, Mason Ray, Ethan Zada, Mike Levin. Then you had Ryan Robrick, Gavin Bryant, Kevin He, and then Ivan Galyanov, Alex Asadorian, Matthew Paris, Evan Klein, Andrew Vermeulen, and William Stewart. And then they actually had an extra forward in Rafik Dianov because they're obviously still missing a sixth defenseman. Frolov, Podrekar, Fedorkov, Van Netten, and then Chanowski was the 50, with Robertson starting against his former team, still no Podolu and Wysick. But it was interesting to me, the thing that stuck out there was Artem Frolov, and I heard about that last week when I did that article on him. The coaching staff said they're really going to try to put him in situations to increase his offensive game, and he talked about wanting to take a step forward with his offensive game. So I think the coaching staff is kind of trying to showcase and give Artem Frolov that opportunity to be able to showcase himself offensively with big minutes on the power play, and continue to gain that confidence for a 16-year-old defenseman.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's I think when you take a look at the IceDogs roster and what they still need, if Robrick can be a center, then you have a number one quote unquote franchise center. As much as you can have a franchise player in the OHL, it's only a 3 or 4 year cycle, right? So you kind of have that center. They lack a defenseman that it moves the puck. Well, they don't because Wysick, but Wysick's been injured a lot of his career. And so it's tough to rely on him because he's so good. He was so good this year. He is a great OHL defenseman. But yeah, we kind of lack that big offensive force from the back end, and I think I've said this a million times too. I think that's the biggest reason why the power play is struggles as much as it does, because they can't get someone who just bombs it from the point, especially after they moved Sobolev, who probably had the hardest shot. I believe he was the only one willing to use it, I guess. So getting Frolov to be on the more offensive side of things is great, because he's also someone that's gotten a little bit chippier and willing to go to the dirty areas and play less passive in the defensive zone. He's been very good this year. Like it's the Galyanov and Zada, they get a lot of attention because they're forwards, but in my opinion, he is the second best of the 4 16-year-olds. Like he has been very good defensively, and on a lot of nights he performs very well. I think he has struggled a little bit without Sobolev. I think that pairing, just as it got along in the year, I think it started off a little rocky, but as it got along before the deadline, they were really good. And to be honest, some nights the best pairing. So now that he's got a year under his belt, I think that if he can get a little more offensive, that would go a long way with the IceDogs, because that's the next thing they're missing. I think they have a starting goaltender. I think that Owen Flores specifically is a top 10 starting goaltender in the OHL next year, especially when some of the other guys age out and things like that. Because I believe Simpson is an overager this year, right? Mm-hmm. And I believe DiVincentis. I could be wrong on DiVincentis. I can't remember, but so I think that he is truly a top 10 goaltender. So now you've got the potential of having a top line center, a good starting goaltender. We're just missing that final that defenseman. And I would love in the draft, I know we'll talk about this in a more show, I'd love to get your thoughts. So when we talked a little bit that it doesn't appear to be a consensus number one, at least yet. We're still early on with the draft process, and it's a lot harder because you're talking about 15-year-olds and you know what I mean. But a defenseman usually takes a little bit longer to get going. You know, we look at Schaefer was first overall, and he's had a pretty good season. Robrick's had a fantastic season, but I don't think that a case is already made that Robrick is going to have a better OHL career than Schaefer. I think it just takes longer. And in the first year, I think it's a little bit easier for forwards to shine than defensemen, because I don't think the offensive game and the confidence kind of grows yet. So if Frolov can turn into that and be like a 30, 40, if he could, I don't need him to be Rodwin Denincio, because he was probably the last great offensive defenseman the IceDogs have had, who's, by the way, shout out to him, because he looks like he has turned his career into, fringe NHL, like fringe prospect to like legitimately going to play in the NHL at some point. He's and I believe he was drafted by Anaheim.
Yep.
They are just a factory of defensemen. So like that blue line in Anaheim is going to be amazing, like so fun to watch. As a Sharks fan, that hurts a little bit, but that said, like they missed that, and I think that Frolov getting would be huge.
Yeah, and I just kind of want to talk about, I guess where do I want to go with this? Like again, it was a tough month, and they gave up 79 goals in the 14 games because I'm looping in the one game that they played against North Bay. And we heard Ben Boudreau, he was very candid a few weeks ago about, just limping to the finish line and trying to get those guys in there to believe that they can compete on a nightly basis when they're undermanned and the skill just isn't up to snuff of some of these loaded playoff teams that have gone out and really, bolstered their lineup with acquiring a lot of top-end talent. So, I mean, when you look at the last stretch of games here, Cam, and obviously they've been giving up a lot of goals, but it seems like there's encouraging spots within games that they can build off of. We talked about Ottawa, how they could have easily been ahead 2 or 3 in that game before Ottawa really got going and took over. And even in a North Bay game, penalties really did the IceDogs in, and not being able to score on the power play. They were 0 for 5 or 6 on the power play against North Bay, and then they gave up 3 power play goals. So, I mean, when you look at the scores, you say, wow, these games are lopsided. But when you actually watch the games, there are stretches of games where they do compete, like you said. They compete on most nights, and they can go toe-to-toe with these teams. It's just hard to do for 60 minutes with such a young group that is rolling with 5 defensemen and has so many 16-year-olds in the lineup. And it's just, despite the results being very one-sided and lopsided, do you still see where the coaching staff and where management can say, okay, this is where we're going to, take bits and parts of it as we go into next year?
Well, like early on in the year, social media and the like I don't want to say, how do I want to phrase this? Where you stack up against other teams. Like, it is not something where you can be oblivious to how your team has performed in the regular season compared to other teams. And I think what has happened, and this happened very early on last year, and the coaching staff, I don't think, was able to manage it really at all. And it's very hard to. But when you know that your last place team or near the bottom and you're going up against a stacked team, and you get scored on early or a couple goals early, and you don't have the confidence that you have the horses to get back into it, that's when you start to see this. Now, the first 3 quarters of the season, all the way to the end of January, they didn't play like that at all. Like, it was like, how many games did we do where it was tied in the third, right? And they might give up 3 goals in the third, or lose in overtime or whatever. But it was stunning to see, just because of how quickly last season was, and then quickly getting into this season and how different it seemed. And now what you're seeing is these guys know the season's over and they're trying to run it out. And that, I'm not saying that's everyone's mentality, but I think, and I don't think they go into every game like that, but I'm talking about, like, once it's 4-0, like a game against Kingston, they give up a goal 8 seconds in, and it's just like, and they just gave up 10 to them the game before, right? I think it's very tough mentally to ask teenagers to forget about what's going on and just play. And that's something that will come with maturity and growing as a hockey player and just a kid, like they're the kids. And that's the coaching staff's biggest thing. I don't think that the way the season has ended the last few weeks has any indication on how next season is going to go. And again, as a fan who's very critical, I have been very critical of the team and management and the coaching staff. I've said this once. This is no knock on Coach Kuwabara. There's a different vibe when head coach Boudreau took over. That just felt like, in the first post game we did, he's like, I'm going to be here for a couple years. Like, that's what, like, I don't want to say verbatim, but I believe that was like, kind of how he stated it. He himself was like, I'm going to be here for a little while. I'm going to make sure that we do this right. And that just kind of, as a fan who has been watching hockey my whole life, like, it just, that gave like calm. And I know that how the games have gone to end the season, it won't be like that next year. Because I bet you any money that next year we're not chasing last place or that last playoff spot for a few months. I would bet that even if we're 10-10 after the first 20, that wouldn't surprise me. Honestly, that's what I kind of expect, is 10-10, 8-12, something like that, where we're right in the middle, or even 6 through 8, but not 5 points back of the last playoff spot 4 weeks into the season. And I think that that's what we're going to see and what to expect. And I really don't take any of the results. Like I said, I'm watching, and I was watching the North Bay game, and Rubric scored. And I was like, that's a good moment as a fan, and what I want to see going into next year. That's important. And then I want to see some growth for some other players, going into next year. And also, like, Gavin Bryant he was like one of my favorite players after training camp watching him. And you talked him up ad nauseum. I didn't really know about him when he was in Owen Sound. He was, but you said he was a great locker room guy. And it didn't really mesh when they did the no captain thing. I don't think that works in the OHL. I'll be honest with you. I think that you need someone when everything goes off the rails or you lose a tough game to have 5 guys waiting to see who steps up and talks. I think that you need one. And Gavin is a pro. And it's felt better on the ice and things like that. So next year, I think that this is wiped clean. I go into next year with the rest of the league better. Like if they say that the IceDogs are automatic basement dweller again, I think they're way off base, and that's just scoreboard watching.
Yeah, I mean, before we wrap up the IceDogs, we look at it, 12 points back of Barrie. But the fact that they're still not mathematically eliminated yet, the power play is still which is under 10% now.
That's got to change.
It's got to be something that if they want to move up this conference a little bit, they got to get up there at least over a 15% power play. 9.6% is just not going to cut it, and I think the coaching staff recognizes that, and Ben Boudreau's talked about that, just them not being able to execute, and he's going to put the guys out there that are willing to put in the hard work on the power play that could hopefully get this thing turned around.
That's the thing. Like, I think that so. We've been very lenient with the coaching staff, knowing that, they took over halfway through. They didn't get a training camp. They didn't get to give any input on their guys and who they want to bring in or say that this doesn't really fit the system. The one thing that they need to figure out is the power play. And if they can't get this group to get a 12% power play, let's say, because that's probably more wins. Like if their power play goes from 9% to 12%, like we're probably talking like they're 6 points out in the final week of the season. And if they can't get what they're trying to do to work early on next year, they need to just try something completely different. And that's on the coaching staff because, it has not worked. That is the one area that has just not worked all season long, regardless of the coaching staff, right? I think the compete level is high. When the coaching change, I think that some of the offensive players have taken a step up. And I think that Flores has really stepped up too. But the power play has not changed from the start of the year to the end of the year.
We're going to have more on our show after we take a break. We're going to hear from Gavin Bryant on our Leadership Lounge. We're going to hear from IceDogs General Manager Wes Consorti in segment 2 as well. So stay right here. We'll be right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family.
In the Niagara region, Global Pet Foods is your destination for premium pet nutrition and caring expertise. Whether you've welcomed a new furry family member or need advice on top quality nutrition, their dedicated staff is ready to help. Discover why Global Pet Foods' lesser-known premium brands outshine the big corporate names. Their team's passion ensures your pet's health and vitality. Check out one of their locations today: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where premium brands and caring staff make the difference. Are you currently looking for work in the Niagara region? If so, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thoroldstone Road in Niagara Falls. Their many free services include a fully staffed resource area open to the public, resume and cover letter writing, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment, training and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, Better Jobs Ontario information and registration assistance, and you can check out their website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983. J&L Flooring is Niagara's specialty flooring and design company. They take great pride and provide elite customer service and support. With a beautiful showroom, great pricing, and a wide variety of truly unique products, J&L Flooring is your specialty flooring and decor boutique shop. All of their products are environmentally friendly and responsibly produced so you can feel good about your flooring choices. Their goal is to build authentic relationships based on honesty and integrity that they foster with respect and authenticity. Offering a unique and wide range of quality products presented by a knowledgeable and patient team, they simplify the process to make your life easier and to make your home more beautiful. Visit them at 4424 Montrose Road in Niagara Falls or find out more at jnlflooring.com. If you think you can get a better deal anywhere else, you don't know Jack at JNL Flooring.
Niagara Golf Lounge features 2 state-of-the-art indoor golf simulators, allowing you to play some of the world's best courses all year round. The perfect place to indulge all season long. Don't worry about getting thirsty while you play around with your friends. Their fully stocked bar offers a wide selection of drinks, appetizers, and a variety of meals are also available to enjoy before, during, or after you play. Grab a seat next to the fire in their comfortable sports lounge. Didn't bring your clubs? No problem. They have partnered with TaylorMade to offer you the best rental clubs. You won't want to miss their exclusive NFL and NHL giveaways for the Buffalo Sabres and Buffalo Bills. Located in the Best Western Plus Cairncroft Hotel, 6400 Lundy's Lane in Niagara Falls. Visit NiagaraGolfVacations.com to learn more and to reserve your golf bay today. The Niagara Golf Lounge, Niagara's home for golf and sport all year round.
Since 1999, Niagara Denture Clinic has been helping thousands of patients achieve natural-looking smiles with the confidence to show them off. Sean Battelle and his wife Anne, both licensed denturists, bring a wealth of skill and experience to the warm and friendly atmosphere to their Niagara Falls location at 5501 Drummond Road. And their on-site Niagara Hearing Clinic offers free hearing tests and a variety of services to fit your needs. This family-run practice takes pride in providing superior care and service to their patients, along with the best premium products available on the market. Get the best work done at a more reasonable price. Niagara Dental Clinic is here to help. Protect your teeth with a mouth guard, replace missing teeth, and get better hold with your dental implants. Call them today for a free consultation at 905-353-1552 or check them out online at niagaradentureclinic.com. Niagara Denture Clinic, creating natural smiles in the Niagara region for 25 years.
Last year, more homes canceled cable TV than ever before. Why? It's just too expensive. For half the price of cable, you can get Fubo TV and watch the live sports and TV you love. Try free at FuboTV.com.
This is Alex Asadorian.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberg.
This is Ivan Gallianov.
This is Gavin Bryant.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's Dog Pound podcast and our monthly wrap-up for the month of February. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are back with you. Thank you to those today listening in on-demand audio on your favorite listening platform, and to those giving us a watch on the YouTube version. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell if you enjoy this kind of content on our network and our monthly wrap-up shows and all of our great video content that we release here on the network on our YouTube channel. Make sure to give us a follow at Dog Pound Podcast, and if Meta is back up by the time this episode comes out, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, we're in all that good stuff for you as well. So, Cam, before we get to our first segment today with IceDogs captain Gavin Bryant, I just want to kind of highlight what he's been able to do this month. 15 points in the 14 games. He's up to 44 points in 53 games overall. And since taking over the captain after the trade deadline, I don't think you could ask for a better guy to lead your team than Gavin Bryant, even going through these tough times. He's a constant pro. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. And he's just such a great presence for that young group. We see the way that he interacts with the young players, embracing Kevin and Ryan and some of those other rookies, Zada, teaching them the ropes of what it is to be a pro in the OHL level. And I think Gavin Bryant kind of exemplifies all that you'd want the other guys to look up to as a leader.
Well, there's been games, we did the Ottawa game when it was kind of over early. And I talked about this. You can see the guys that have the high motor without the puck when they're losing badly. That's usually when it goes away. You're passive. You're just trying to get the game over with. Gavin isn't that. He is always on it. He makes life hell as much as he can whenever he's on the ice. How many goals did the IceDogs score this month?
40.
And how many points did Gavin Bryant have?
He had 15 points. He had 6 goals.
That's just quick math. Like that's like 38% of the IceDogs goals he had an impact on. So that just goes to show like the season may be over and it might be winding down. And sure, obviously Kevin and Rubric get all the accolades because they're the highest rated and whatnot in terms of potential NHL draft picks. But there's Gavin Bryant, almost 40% of the IceDogs goals when the season's over, impacting them and making sure that he doesn't end the season limping into it. And that's something that I think should be noted. Like that's what you want out of a captain. And that's exactly what he's doing. And I think that next year going into a full off season with him, I hope we give him the playoff run. That's something. I think him and Flores, they deserve it. And I'm excited to see them get a playoff berth next year.
And he's got a lot of pride too, and there's nobody that wants to win more than Gavin Bryant, and continuing to keep his head up despite some tough results for his team, and not sulking and not giving a bad example to those younger players like the Gallianovs and the Zadas and the Frolovs, that when you go through these tough times, it's how you kind of battle through the adversity more so than when you're going through the good times. And I think Gavin Bryant is showing that tenfold of how to act on and off the ice when you're going through tough times, and continuing to work to try to get better and to try to set a good example for the team that you represent with that crest and the region's team that the IceDogs represent. And I think Gavin Bryant just exemplifies what you want from a great captain. And I think once it's all said and done, if we're able to give him, a playoff run next season, you can put him in with some of those other great leaders that the IceDogs have had over the past, just because of the type of character and the way that he's built as a person.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
So we're going to get to our IceDogs segment here with the IceDogs captain, Gav's Leadership Lounge, brought to you by the Niagara Golf Lounge. Niagara's home for golf and sport year-round, located in the best Western Cairncraft Hotel in Niagara Falls. Visit NiagaraGolfVacations.com to learn more, to host an event, or to book your golf bay today. Here is IceDogs captain Gavin Bryant on his team's play over the last month and what he's looking for the team to finish out strong for the 2023-24 season. Back on another Gav's Leadership Lounge with the IceDogs captain, Gavin Bryant, brought to you by the Niagara Golf Lounge. Gavin, first off, when we talk about February for you, the results weren't there as a team. You were 4-10 overall, but for you personally, I want to, just highlight you a little bit. You had over a point a game. You had 15 points in the 14 games. You're up to 44 points in 53 games this season. I know, you're an ultimate team guy and you want the team to have success, but when you've finally started to get going here with your offensive game and being more of an offensive catalyst for this team here, now that you've been given the C, do you take pride in knowing that your offensive numbers have also, continued to go up in that sense?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a big thing coming in for me this year was just trying to get my offensive output a little higher. I mean, I felt like I had consistency issues in my past 2 years, offensively wise and even playing wise. So I think it was just big for me to hit a couple career highs this year, get a couple more goals. But again, you know me, I'm as big a team guy as it is, and no, it's just it's been a tough go here in February, but I mean, I'll give it to the guys. They're staying positive in the room, and obviously the coaches are staying positive themselves. So it's still been a healthy and good environment for me to be around. So.
Yeah, and you talk about, I mean, a hat trick. You had a couple of 3-point games, a 4-point game. I know you obviously want to be consistent throughout the season, but having those big output games, does that just give you a little bit more jump and a little bit more confidence to know that you're capable of that? Because I know you're very hard on yourself as well. So, seeing those results happen, is that kind of, a little bit of gratification in yourself for all the hard work that you put in on and off the ice?
Yeah, for sure. I think I don't think one hockey player in the world will say that they hate scoring goals. So that's getting stuff like that is good. And I mean, just more on a team output as well. Just seeing the other guys produce, seeing Ryan get his record there. Seeing Kevin still able to put up some goals and other guys still hitting their career highs in career years. It's good to see for sure, because I mean, again, with it being with the down year it's been just standings wise and whatnot, you're still gathering positives out of it, and that's been the big message that we've gotten from our coaches, is just trying to gather positives each and every night and each and every day, whether we're at the rink or at home, whatnot. But no, it's still good to see that other guys are finding their offensive output as well.
Yeah, good segue there, because obviously I know you don't like to talk about yourself, so I want to talk about some of the other players. You mentioned Ryan breaking not only the 16-year-old goal record, but then a few weeks later ends up breaking the IceDogs rookie goal record completely there. I know you guys had a little embrace there in Mississauga. Not sure what happened, when he broke the record in North Bay, but as the captain and a guy that's 16 years old, just how proud are you of him, and how much do you think that means to him that he has a supportive captain like you to be able to be there and be happy for him as much as you are for yourself in those instances?
Yeah, you know what? I got a lot of respect for Ryan, because each and every day, whether I'm on his line or not, he's always asking questions, always trying to be a sponge. He reminded me of me when I was a rookie, just trying to be a sponge, trying to soak everything in, and just to see, he's very to himself, just whether it's in the room and whatnot, but just to see him get that record and having the offensive output that he's been having the last month and all year, to be frank, is just it's pretty cool, because again, he's just he's a great guy. He's always wanting to learn, and you got to appreciate that as an older guy, a guy that'll listen, a guy that's always looking to learn, and no, I just couldn't be happier for him.
And what's it like playing with two wingers like Kevin He and Ryan Roberg? Obviously, two guys that are prolific goal scorers, and yourself being a playmaker and the 200-foot guy, the guy that takes the key draws and grinds down low. Just how's the chemistry kind of coming along with the three of you there, and with Kevin and Ryan obviously being the last two IceDogs to break the 16-year-old goal record, and they both like to shoot a lot. So with you and your playmaking ability, how is that trio kind of worked out for you guys?
It makes my job pretty easy, right? Like you said, I just got to get them the puck, and good chance they're putting it on net, and another good chance going in the net the way they're playing. So it's it's pretty easy to play with those two. I mean, their IQ and their coverage in zone is really easy, and then seeing those two go up on a 2-on-2, and me trailing behind is just pretty fun to watch sometimes. But no, they're elite. They're elite shooters, elite passers, elite skaters, and no, it's just it's fun playing with those two, and makes me feel old because they're 2 and 3 years younger than me. But no, it's fun to play with those two for sure.
It's okay. When you get to be 31, Gavin, you'll feel really old like me. But
yeah.
Who's a guy maybe that's flying under the radar right now that you think is, really tried to work on his craft, and you think is really going to have a strong final 9 games of the season, that, maybe a guy that's, not getting the type of recognition that Ryan or Kevin get, but you see him putting the work on and off the ice, and the results, should eventually come for that guy?
Yeah, you know what? I think everybody's putting in the work that needs to be done, especially this late in the season. And with the position we're in, I think just, again, like I said, just a matter of being positive and whatnot, and everybody's doing a really good job of that. I guess I'll spotlight Mason Ray a little bit. Ever since he came over, he's just been a breath of fresh air for sure, and I think it's been a breath of fresh air for him himself. I don't know what his playing time was like in Brantford, but he's really taken on a good role this year that'll definitely move in the next year. And just the way he conducts himself off the ice again, and his game on the ice is just pretty energizing from a bench standpoint. When he's out there laying hits, whether it's 8-0 or 0-0, he's still playing the same way, and it's just it's pretty appreciative from my end, and I think it's pretty appreciative from the rest of the guys on the team as well.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy that's caught our eye as well, doing the post games and watching him in the games. He's definitely a big body, and you could tell that the potential's there, and why he was a second round pick in this league. So that's definitely a guy you look at to take a big step next little bit, and maybe even going into next year. But IceDogs captain Gavin Bryant's with us. Gavin, a few more quick ones for you before I let you go. What is the message to the group for the final 9 games? You got 5 of them on the road, and with that nice rescheduled game in Barrie, you're going to have to go back up there, so it'll end up being 7 games in the final 10 days, so that's going to be a grind stretch. You're going to get, I believe, 3 days off after the Peterborough-Ottawa trip there, so you'll have a little bit of a time to rest, but then that final stretch is going to be a key one for you. So kind of what's the message to the guys as you go into that and trying to get through a tough stretch there to close out the season strong?
Yeah, like I said, I think the biggest thing is just staying positive, obviously, but I think the other thing too is just continuing to play for each other. I mean, we got a guy on our team that has 9 games left in his OHL career and has had a very, very long OHL career. So that's it gets me emotional for sure, but it should get the other guys emotional as well. Just to play for Feds and just play for a lot of the other guys too, like just the older guys, I would say, including myself, just that don't have much time left in this league, that are trying to make hockey your career, and just trying to finish off the year well. And then even for the younger guys too, that are in positions to whether it's their draft year this year, or it's their draft year next year, the year after, like there's always people watching, and I think it's just I think people are going to watch these last 9 games as to how we respond as a team, being a last place team, how we just respond and whether we give up or not. And I think that's the message right there, is we can't give up. We have 9 games left, so just playing for each other, I think, will be the biggest key here in the last 9 games.
Absolutely, and your coach has kind of been very candid, and he's been hard on himself as well, and you can tell, he's very passionate about being the head coach of the IceDogs, and, it hasn't been an easy stretch. So how have you guys kind of responded to Ben's message as of late? And he's very hard on himself as well as you guys as the players. So what's the feel in that room as far as Ben's kind of message and how you guys are kind of receiving that and want to make sure that you go out there and do the best for him and the other coaches that are trying to make you guys better?
I can't say enough nice things about our coaching staff. But I think it's just it's a voluntary thing in the room, where I think every single guy in that room would run through a wall for each one of the coaches in that room. And I think when they, I've spoken so much about how they prepare us and their preparation for us before games, before practices on a daily basis. It's just we're so grateful to have them in that room. But I think just when anytime they're speaking, and I think they've gained the respect that they deserve in the room, where when they're speaking, everybody listens. And that hasn't changed from when Ben was named head coach, and even since the start of the year when he was the assistant. And no, I just think I think even towards the end of the year, like I said, it's just going to be a no-brainer for us, just going to war with him. And all of us are sponges, taking in everything that they say. That the amount of hockey knowledge in that room is grateful for us. And no, I just think I think it's a pretty easy statement to say that for the rest of the year, that it's all years when those guys come into the room, for sure.
Well said, Gavin. So last one, this is going to be, the toughest question I've asked y'all all interview here. Niagara Golf Lounge is the sponsor of this show. So, have you been out on the range yet? Have you been out golfing yet? I know you're a big golf guy, so the weather's been nicer out there. So has number 19 been out there, been able to hit a couple of balls as of yet?
Yeah, you got me on a good day. I just got finished 9 holes at Beechwood. Me and Mason Ray. I think Razor was a 43. I was a 42. So 6 over for me and 7 over for Razor. But no, it's a good. We said that's a. If you had told us we were going to shoot that before the round, we'd call you crazy. So that's a good start to the year. But looking to improve those numbers once we get into June and July. But no, it's good to get out. Beechwood was good and in pretty good conditions for March. So no, it was a fun time.
Not bad, and definitely a lot better than Colin Ward. Shout out to him from the Dogcast. I'm sure he's probably going to be in the 50s this year. So. Gavin, thanks so much for doing this, and look forward to what's to come the last month of the season, and for yourself personally and for the team, and really appreciate you doing this segment throughout the year and giving us your time, despite after some tough results and things like that. So really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Brando. You're the best.
There was another installment of Gav's Leadership Lounge with IceDogs captain Gavin Bryant, the last one of the season. We want to thank Gavin for giving his time throughout the season with the post games and with our segments here. It's been a pleasure getting to know him off the ice as well, and a very good leader, as we mentioned beforehand. So he's already got out on the course. It's looking nicer out there. He's been getting out there with Mason Ray hitting some balls, so that's good, and we got to try to get him in the golf lounge soon as well. But
100%.
With that said, Cam, quick thoughts on what you thought about Gavin Bryant and what he's kind of looking for through the rest of the season here as we wrap up.
I'll be honest with you. I think the camaraderie is something that isn't talked about enough. We've had, the Ice Dogs be viewed as kind of a tough culture over the past couple of years, and they've gone a long way to fix that. And I think that you start seeing these guys be friends off the ice, and that goes a little bit further. I think that is definitely what's needed on a championship team. And I think that because these guys, and what we opened the show with, I don't think there'll be as much turnover, nearly as much. And that's going to go a long way, that these guys are all boys. I think that's really important. So that was kind of like the undertone that I took away from that. I'm happy to hear that, some of them are getting together.
And I even tried to ask him a couple of personal questions about his stats as of late in his offensive game, and he said he didn't really want to talk about himself, so that ended quickly. But he did mention that he really wanted to improve on his offensive game and showing a little bit of more of consistency than he did in Owen Sound last year, even though he almost had a point a game with the Owen Sound attack in the half season that he did play there. So again, looking for big things for Gavin Bryant, not just the rest of the 10 games, but hopefully going into next season, donning that C. I'd really love to see that once again, and again, thank him for doing that segment for us, sponsored by the Niagara Golf Lounge all year long. But Cam, we'll move on here before we get to IceDogs GM Wes Consorti. I mean, when you look at the upcoming games for the IceDogs, and we'll kind of just quickly glance over this. I mean, they've got 9 games left in that reschedule against Barrie, that they're going to have to go back up to Barrie, which is unfortunate. And they're going to play a Tuesday and a Wednesday game back-to-back in Barrie and in Brantford, so that's going to be really tough there on a Tuesday and Wednesday. 7 games in their last 10 days, and Gavin Bryant just talked about them remaining positive and making sure that they're ready to go, refreshed, and it's going to be a tough end of the season there. But when you look at 7 games in the last 10 days and the opponents that they're going to be playing, they do play the Barrie Colts twice, they play Peterborough, they play Erie, who they've had success against, and then some divisional games against Mississauga and Sudbury to end the season at home. Brantford still on the schedule as well, a team that they obviously want to take down and end that 23-game losing streak to them. So is there anything that you can kind of look at in the last 9 games or so and say, we want to see this X, Y, and Z as far as the results go for the remaining schedule?
I would like to see, some differences on the power play. They're just trying something different. I think just going into next year, I would like to see Zada as high in the lineup as you can go. Same with Gallianov, just because at 16, like, they got to get some run to see what they can be, and they might not be first or second line players. They might be third liners, which is, again, on a championship team, that's not a bad thing. If that is what the goal is. I would love to see them beat Brantford. Goodness gracious. Like, just end that streak. But no, I would also like to see, honestly, the thing I want to see the most in the next 9 games is Federico get his goal. I want to see him get a goal at home. There's something to be said about someone who is willing to play as hard as he possibly can for a team that has no shot at winning a championship. Like that's a quality that is not in very many people. And Federico wanted to come here, wanted to be home for his overage season, and has taken this season in stride. And he has been hard to play against every night. And he is a pleasure to watch. And I hope over the next few games he gets his goal.
And Gavin Bryant talked about that too. We want to finish off strong for Feds and Connor Federico and all he's given to them this season, because every time there's an after the whistle scrum, number 4 is in there battling for his guys, and he's standing up for everybody. He's willing to go every single player on the opposing bench, and that's just the kind of player Federico is. Even though it's going to be a tough end with not really getting into the playoffs in his overage year, he's really taking pride in this role, and wherever he goes to in the next journey of his hockey career, I think that means a lot for the coaching staff and for everybody to kind of see the kind of guy that he is, and for the young group as well, the Artem Frolovs and the Callum Chanowskis, the younger defensemen on this team, to know, when you become an older player in this league, that's the way that you should act at all times. And I'd really love to see Federico get the goal as well. Artem Frolov, I'd love to see score as well, because he hasn't gotten on the board yet, and he really wants to get going offensively. A guy that Gavin Bryant also mentioned was Mason Ray, and I do think that he's going to be a player that could really put the IceDogs over the top if he really takes that next step in his development. Again, this is a guy that was a second-round pick by the Brantford Bulldogs. He's got the size. He's working on his skating a little bit better. We've seen him get a little bit more opportunities, and he's shooting the puck more, being more confident with the puck. With the opportunities that he's been given here in Niagara in a kind of a middle six role there, that he never really had the opportunity on a loaded Brantford Bulldogs team. So I look at Mason Ray too as another guy to take a step forward next year, not just the 4 16-year-olds that we always talk about, but if those other players like the Mason Rays can also take a step forward, that's going to be so huge for this group next year to give them another added dynamic.
I mean, like someone we never talk about, or we haven't in quite some time, and he's had a kind of a tough finish to the year, but Levin and Paris have been great all season. And I don't think they get enough credit for the trades that they made. Like the coaching staff or the management staff made some great deals. I mean, the Gavin Bryant deal alone is one of the best that the IceDogs have made. If we look back on the deal, that was the one for Declan Waddick, correct?
And they got a second-round pick.
And you got a captain out of it. That deserves to be a captain. And then they get Paris and Levin, who were kind of cast off from London, and they've been great this year. At multiple points of the season, Paris was the leading scorer, and Levin was just scoring every other game. And I think that going into next year, again, if you can put those players in the positions that they should be, so not having to rely on Levin to be the goal scorer of the team, if he slotted into the second or third line, that makes the lineup that much stronger, that you've got someone down there that can do that. And I think that's what they've got to do. Obviously, the overage question is going to be another one. They've got some pretty difficult decisions to make about overagers for this team, and they've got to get them right. Unfortunately, this year, okay, you're rebuilding, and it actually looks like a rebuild as opposed to last year. Next year, it's like you kind of have to get it right. Missing the playoffs next year is just, it gets dicey, not just for the fan base, but, a lot of these OHLers only have 4 years, 5 years, right? We go a third year of no playoffs and Kevin hasn't sniffed the playoffs. Like, how many times do you draft an NHL drafted prospect in the second round? That's tough to do. And they've really got to make sure that they take advantage of the last couple of years of Kevin and Robrick and everyone growing. But moreover, putting the players on the team that have been successful this year. So like Paris and Levin, it gets a little bit tougher when it comes to like Klein, because overager, and we'll have to see the decisions to be made. But putting them in the right place to succeed is going to be really important for this team.
And even like Stewart and Vermeulen as well, because we've seen flashes from those guys as well, even though they're not getting, the top end playing time, they're making the most of the minutes that they're getting on that fourth line this year.
Exactly. There's been nights where the fourth line's been the best line. That game against Ottawa or Kingston?
Ottawa.
I think it was Ottawa. Yeah, they were the best line. It wasn't particularly close. And I think they know that they're battling for next year. That's good that they aren't just mailing it in, for sure.
Yeah, so we're going to get to our final segment today, and that is with IceDogs General Manager Wes Consorti and our monthly maintenance, brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road in Niagara since 2012 in honor of the late William Robert Hunter. Here is IceDogs GM Wes Consorti on the team's play and going forward here as we look for the final 9 games and towards the offseason. Back on our monthly maintenance segment brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair with IceDogs General Manager Wes Consorti. Wes, thanks a lot for joining us. We didn't have you on last month. We had the Director of Scouting, Adam Henrich, on, so I guess I'll start there. Obviously, looks like it's going to be another top 5 pick for you guys this year, maybe even higher. How pleased are you with the scouting staff's work so far, and as they get geared up here, ready for another important draft class, hopefully going to hit on like you did with the 07 draft class?
Yeah, obviously it's been a busy last few months with our scouting staff, and there's some high-end players at the top of the draft, so lots of visits, lots of interviews, lots of checks, just making sure that we're doing our part, our diligence on our side. It's been a good process for players. Not picking this high anymore in the near future. So, but again, it's an exciting time for the organization to get. We're going to be getting a high quality franchise-like player again. So we're excited about that.
And talking about the current team, obviously the results haven't been what you've wanted over the last month. 4-10 this month and 79 goals against. Obviously, you made some moves at the deadline to trade out some of your depth on the back end and acquire some future assets, future draft picks. So, how do you think the coaching staff has, I guess, adapted to what they've been given as far as the roster goes for the rest of the season, and going through some tough times right now with injuries and still guys in and out of the lineup?
Yeah, it's been difficult, no doubt, but at the same time, we're excited with the future that we have. We are giving our young guys lots of looks, lots of important minutes. The coaching staff has done a great job giving our young guys important minutes because they're getting valuable experience. We're a young team, one of the youngest in the league, and things, games that we've had, most recently, will happen to a young team. Unfortunately, we're going through it. We believe this will be the last time we go through it. But again, our future is bright. These are times that are tough, no doubt, but we feel strong going in the future with the core young group that we will have to propel the team in the future.
So you did sign those 3 players that were, associated players there to give your guys, I guess, a little bit more help and depth down the lineup there. Obviously, it's been a rough go here, only having 5 defensemen dressed throughout a little bit part of the season here. So how do you feel like the guys on the back end have been able to kind of respond and really lug some top-end minutes, especially guys that maybe haven't been used to it, like Chanowski and Artem Frolov?
Yeah, for sure. It's, increased minutes for those guys back there. They're doing an admirable job. The younger guys are getting, again, more minutes, more opportunity, more responsibility, and it's a learning curve, no doubt. We feel that the minutes they're getting right now will shape them into more mature players coming up for us. So for sure it's difficult. Lots of minutes are being logged by those guys, and it's commendable, and they're acting like pros when they're doing it, and it's for them it's just about getting more experience, and this is the way to do it.
Despite some really tough lopsided losses, there have been some bright spots at the top of your lineup there with guys like Kevin He leading the way in goals with 29. Gavin Bryant, since been giving the C, has really been on fire here, 15 points in his last 14 games. And then Ryan Roberk obviously breaking not only the 16-year-old goal record, but now the overall rookie record for goals for the franchise. So can you speak to those 3 guys individually and maybe together now that they're playing alongside each other on how they're kind of leading the way here with this exciting young group?
Yeah, obviously Kevin's, having a tremendous year. There's lots of eyes on Kevin all the time, with it being his draft year, and he's being very professional on and off the ice through the process. He's taking a lot of calls, lots of interviews, and he's doing his job on the ice. He's always the hardest working guy on the ice, and he's one of the most professional players off the ice. So, as far as his game as a whole, I think he's third. I think he ranks third in 07 draft eligible players for goals scored, and his 5-on-5 points are near the top for 07 draft eligible, 06 draft eligible player. So he's been a encouraging spot for the team, and everyone wants to be around him, and he loves being around the guys, and it's a exciting time for Kevin, and we're going to be very excited for him coming up in June.
And Ryan Robrick, just
obviously, yeah. I mean, Ryan is advertised just like we thought he would be. He's doing things that he's always been doing and scoring goals, and a lot of them. Again, he's gaining valuable experience. He's been good with his teammates. We're just excited for his progression, and Ryan understands the type of player he is and what he means to the team and the franchise. And he is young, but he understands what his role is and what it's going to be. So it's Ryan's just he's just a machine, and we're excited to see what he can do in the future. And Gavin has just been one of the best guys in the room. One of the main reasons why we brought him into the team was to be a leader to the core, and he's been great on and off the ice and good with the young guys, and he is the right guy to steer the team for sure.
And what's the message to some of those other players down the lineup, your depth players, as they try to finish out strong here in the last 9 games? Obviously, making the playoffs would be tough sledding at this point. So obviously you're looking to next year, but a lot of guys trying to battle and earn spots for next season possibly. So, what's the message to some of those other guys down in the lineup that are looking to get more of an opportunity and looking to get more of a look as we go into the offseason and, wanting to be a part of this team going forward next year?
Yeah, obviously, just like every other team, guys are jockeying for positions throughout the year, and as it gears towards the end of the year, the stick may be gripped a little tighter, but our guys have to continue to battle and prove that they're everyday guys and that they're being professionals throughout tough times, and doing whatever they can to be top of mind for our coaches when things come up and things are discussed. So, tough spot to be in, but unfortunately it's the nature of hockey. Guys, there's a long lineup of players that want to play, and unfortunately you can only have so many on your team, and for the most part guys have been good.
And lastly, obviously Connor Federico is your only overager, and he's really trying to battle for you guys to end off his OHL career. But you got some tough decisions to make in the offseason regarding the goaltending position. Obviously, Owen Flores would have to come back for his overage year, and Charlie Robertson, who you acquired from the North Bay Battalion. Can you speak to the goaltending tandem? And although they've been giving up a lot of goals, the help maybe hasn't been there in front of them on most nights, and their stats may not tell the story of how well they've been playing for your group.
Yeah, they're battling hard. Those are 2 quality hockey players, quality teammates, good people, just battling every night. They work hard in practice. They work hard in the video room with their goalie coach. They're trying to get better every day, and it can get difficult for sure, but they're doing a good job being professional, getting through this, and great teammates, great leaders in the room. Guys love them, so they're doing a good job. And Connor's Connor. He's playing hard. He understands. This is his last year in the league, and he's trying to do everything he can to get some more looks when he's done playing junior. So, we're going to do everything we can for him as well too. So we're excited to see what he can do in the future as well.
IceDogs General Manager Wes Consorti in our monthly maintenance segment. Wes, thanks a lot for doing this and for doing this throughout the season. I know it's been a tough time for the group overall, but really appreciate you taking the time every month to come on and just speak to fans about their concerns and what's going on with the team. So look forward to the off season and speaking to you come draft time.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
There was IceDogs General Manager Wes Consorti on our monthly maintenance segment brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair. Cam, final one of the season for Wes on the show as we get into the offseason and final month here of the 2023-24 season. General thoughts there from what the general manager of the IceDogs had to say.
I mean, he said everything that we've been kind of stating. trying to see what the players up and higher in the lineup for the future, getting them going as the season winds down. And then with the focus on the draft. This draft is going to be, if last year wasn't the most important, this year is definitely going to be, because if it doesn't go well, man, like, it's awfully tough. But if it goes well, like what we just saw with this last draft class, we're talking about a playoff team for sure. And I think that's where all their focus is going into this year, or to wind down this year, as well as a full off season of working with the coaching staff as well. I think is going to be huge.
So, Cam, as we kind of look ahead here, the weekend upcoming, Ottawa, Peterborough, their last kind of overnight road trip of the year, and then the 7 out of the last 10 games. So I know you're going to be on one more game recap. So by the time we do our season recap show at the end of March here, what you already talked a little bit about, you want to see like guys score goals and things like that, but what would be realistically a successful end of the season for you by the time we come on here and do another kind of season, I guess you could say monthly recap, but it'll be the end of season recap?
One more home win, to give the fans that show up consistently. I want to see one more home win for sure. I want to see them beat teams that they should beat. We talked about this all season. The reason why they're not in a playoff spot or close is because for whatever reason, they could beat these top end teams, but they just struggled all year against, the teams lower in the lineup. Or lower in the standings. Like, they've got a couple games against Peterborough and Barrie. I want to see them win those, or at least make them competitive, and maybe close the gap even further. But yeah, then it's mostly just individual that I want to see, Kevin getting 30, Federico getting 1, Frolov as well. A good send-off, another home win would be huge. But yeah, like, close the gap even further, just kind of end on a high note.
Ryan's at 24. He's got 9 games
left. Could you
left.
imagine if he gets to 30?
If he gets 6 more.
It's not out of the realm of possibility, but he's going to need a hat trick game or something big. But he's the most amount. He shoots more than any other rookie in the league. So who knows? And
they're going up against some tough teams: Sudbury, Mississauga, Brantford. I would love to see them finally beat Brantford. That would be like the icing on the cake for me to finally, snap that going into next season, so they don't have to kind of worry about that when they're trying to do a bunch of positive things going into next year to kind of get that Brantford record out of the way. But
yes.
Again, we'll see what the final 9 games hold for the IceDogs. 7 in their last 10, so it's going to be a tough stretch. But as you heard from Gavin Bryant and Wes Consorti, these guys are battlers. They're going to battle to the end, and even though they might limp to the finish line, they're going to give it all they have here for the final stretch of home games here for the IceDogs, with 4 still remaining. So make sure to come down to the Meridian Center and support this team as you've done all season long. So thank you to all the fans for listening today and watching us all season long on our monthly recap. Cam and I really appreciate you guys coming to us every single month for our thoughts and giving you the great segments as well from those in and around the team. So that's going to wrap up our final monthly wrap-up show of the 2023-24 IceDogs season right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. Until next time, for Cam Halbert, my name is Brandon Caputo, and this has been another installment on the Armchair GM Sports Network. We'll talk to you again very soon. You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.